Agent Romanoff. You miss me?
Oh yeah, Charles, we got ourselves an X-Men fan.
Captain.
Your Highness.
Jackman, big fan, Spider-Man. Hey everyone.
Hey guys, and welcome to Film Artsy, your number one source for all things films and movies. And over the years, we've seen some really interesting moments come out of the movies from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And one thing that's really interesting that always happens along the way in these films are twists and turns where you're caught off guard, and there's some really interesting plot action that starts moving forward that just keeps things fresh and interesting. So today we wanted to take a look at our picks for the top 10 best plot twists in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Let's go ahead and jump into it with number 10 coming from Captain America Winter Soldier, which is actually this massive part where we find out that Hydra had infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. and was essentially a part of S.H.I.E.L.D. and was S.H.I.E.L.D.
No, not really. 23, kind of hot, real hot. You know, wants to be a reporter, I think. I don't know, who listens at that point?
Doesn't sound like much of a problem to me.
Really, because she's killing my back. But this isn't the place to talk about it. It's a nice pin.
Thank you.
Come here. Hail Hydra.
This next one's really interesting because essentially it focuses on this big twist that kind of threw a lot of people off, where essentially it turns out that the Kree that Captain Marvel is amongst in the beginning of Captain Marvel are really the bad guys. And as it turns out, the Skrulls, which are the ones that you think would be the bad guys, actually weren't all that bad.
It's okay. She's all right. She's a friend.
I am not gonna hurt you.
She let me to.
Next on our list is one that a lot of people overlook, but it is the I Am Iron Man scene at the end of the first Iron Man. Now, up until this point in just comic book movie adaptations, for the most part, a major plot point throughout all of these films that had released up until that point is the superhero having a secret identity. And the fact that at the very end of the first Iron Man movie, Tony Stark decides just to outright say that he is Iron Man was a pretty big break in the mold. And it actually was a big twist because it kind of went ahead and brought this idea into the MCU, if this thing would ever take off to possibly become a bigger universe, that the superheroes' identities don't necessarily always have to be secret. And it really did keep this interesting dynamic moving forward.
I am Iron Man.
Then we have Ant-Man and the Wasp's post-credit scenes next on our list.
Ha ha, very funny. Hank, quit screwing around. You told me yourself not to screw around. Hank! Hope? Janet! Guys. Okay, seriously, don't joke around. Bring me up, let's go. Guys!
This one was huge because not only did this film serve as a prequel of sorts to Avengers Infinity War, it actually was this middle film that came out after Avengers Infinity War where we were curious what was going to happen with Ant-Man and the Wasp and how it could tie in to Avengers Endgame. And when we saw this post-credit scene, the awesome twist at the end, just kind of leaving fans anticipating the upcoming film, it was just a really interesting way to tie everything together while still keeping this film in its own self-contained universe in its own right as well. Then of course, if we look to Captain America Civil War, another huge twist that came out of the Captain America movies, when we find out that Bucky actually was the one who killed Tony Stark's parents, it was a really big twist, and not only did it really show some interesting character arcs and growth for both Tony Stark and Bucky as the Winter Soldier, but it also served as a really big catalyst to the events that happen in the rest of the movie and kind of lead the way up into what happens in future films as well. Then, while Spider-Man is definitely no stranger to putting a few twists and turns along the way, we wanted to go ahead and put the scene from Spider-Man Homecoming where Peter realizes that Adrian Tumes is actually Liz's dad.
You must be Peter.
Yeah.
I'm Liz's dad. Put her there. Hell of a grip. Come on in here. Come on.
We can also give an honorable mention to Spider-Man Far From Home with the whole Mysterio not being a good guy twist, but a lot of people saw that kind of a mile away. But this sequence was really interesting just because it has this dynamic of Peter Parker really having to be faced with some conflict that matters in his life, and he has to kind of make some decisions along the way and really become the Spider-Man. And that was such an interesting way that they incorporated that twist to make it interesting that we really appreciated it. Then coming in at number 4 on our list, it definitely comes in to Thor Ragnarok, which is either when Thor loses his eye or maybe the post-credit scenes where he runs into the Guardians of the Galaxy.
So simple. Even a blind man could see it. Ooh. Now you remind me of Dad.
How the hell is this dude still alive? He is not a dude. You're a dude. This is a man. A handsome, muscular man. I'm muscular.
But who are you kidding, Will? You're one sandwich away from fat.
Yeah, right. It's true. You have put on weight. What?
Both of these sequences, while they are kind of separate, we're going to consider them both as one here, just because we know that the state of Thor after the events of Thor Ragnarok, he's beaten down, he doesn't have an eye, and then he just runs into the Guardians of the Galaxy, not only is really exciting if you were excited for Avengers Infinity War, but it also kind of showed this different dynamic and this different Thor going into the third act for the Avengers franchise. Then we can have another decent twist that came up in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, but it was actually when Peter realizes that his father was the one who killed his mother.
I returned to Earth to see her 3 times, and I knew if I returned a 4th, I'd never leave. The expansion, reason for my very existence would be over, so we did what I had to do. But it broke my heart to put that tumor in her head.
This one definitely was really huge for the scope of this movie. Now, we all knew there was something up with this dude who was obviously the bad guy at the end of the day, but we didn't really know how Peter Quill would interact with it. And you almost have this feeling that he could be accepting, but at the same time, you know that's not in his character. So when the bomb is dropped that he actually had a hand in the death of Peter's mom, which was such an integral part in the introduction to the first film, it kind of tied a lot of things together, but also led to a really exciting third act of Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Then this next one comes out of Avengers Endgame, but it actually is pretty early in the film where the Avengers go after Thanos snaps his fingers, and the Avengers just go over there and straight up kill Thanos. That's definitely not what a lot of people thought going into that film. They definitely thought he would be the main antagonist, but yeah, they just go there, and that actually leads them to have even more defeat, as there's nothing they can do until they come up with something else 5 years later.
Thank you, daughter. Perhaps I treated you too harshly.
What? What did you do?
I went for the head.
It's a really interesting story writing technique there, and we still get to face off against Thanos in the end, but it was definitely a really big twist, that and the whole 5-year jump that they pulled off there. And then finally, the biggest twist that has ever come out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe definitely comes to Avengers Infinity War when we had that snap.
You should have gone for the head.
This one was absolutely huge when it happened. No one really goes to an Avengers movie thinking, yeah, you know, half of the characters are just going to die in a single snap and everyone's gonna lose and that's gonna be it. And this film definitely ended on one of the most somber notes in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it ended up working really well, and it was extremely exciting and built up a lot of hype, and if anything, pushed the Marvel Cinematic Universe in a new direction and a more exciting direction, as fans started to believe that anything can happen with these stories, and it's not just the traditional, the good guys always win, and that was really cool to see. So what do you guys think of our picks? Let us know in the comments down below. Be sure to subscribe with notifications on for more videos like this, and we'll see you all next time with a brand new video.
I'm about to.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
Hi.
Hi. See you guys.
Know anybody?